Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Cloud Computing for C-Suite show with Brad Nelson, an internationally recognized and world's #1 cloud industry expert and thought leader, David Linthicum. This show is sponsored by Nelson Hilliard, cloud computing recruitment specialist placing great people in cloud, IoT, fintech and AI. In this week's show, David and I will be talking about David's 2018 predictions that most in the C-Suites won't see coming. Hi Dave, great to see you on the C-Suite show again this week and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to this discussion because I like telling people what they're about to know and understand. And I always like to show up and say, I told you so.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some really good predictions this year. So it's you've put together a really good list here. So we're going to run through those. So you've put together 4 cloud predictions for 2018 that the C-Suites won't see coming, but should help shape their cloud strategy for the new year. So Dave, let's start with prediction number 1. Microsoft or Oracle is going to buy Salesforce.com.
Yeah, I've been saying Salesforce.com is going to get bought by somebody because I think they're in the enviable position where they're really kind of saturated in terms of the revenue that they're able to do. And ultimately, they're looking to get out of the quarter-on-quarter growth kind of mentality, which is a problem with some of the publicly traded companies. And so Salesforce is buddy-buddy with Microsoft and Oracle, and they've been there for some time. And Microsoft actually is the #1 SaaS provider in the world right now, believe it or not. And that's because of Office 365. And the ability to kind of integrate Salesforce will be kind of a huge feather in its cap. And I think that this is a 1 + 1, equals 2 equals 3 kind of scenario if they're able to do that. Oracle probably not as much, but Oracle is a SaaS leader with NetSuite and certainly the other SaaS offerings that they have, and I think they're able to take Salesforce to the next level. So even though the market is red hot right now and Salesforce would cost many billions of dollars to purchase, I think it kind of makes sense for either Microsoft or Oracle to go ahead and pull the trigger on that because ultimately they're able to accelerate the revenue that Salesforce.com was able to produce, get into the SaaS space, which, by the way, is not going away. And it's still in its minor league stages right now. It still isn't inflected to the point we're looking to inflect. And then integration with the existing infrastructure as a service stuff that Microsoft and Oracle both have will be additive to Salesforce, the ability to kind of live in that environment. And I think it just kind of makes sense. And so enterprises need to be aware that this is likely to happen. And what I think will probably occur when it does happen is that they'll rethink their cloud strategy, their ability to kind of look at Salesforce as an independent agent. So either they like Microsoft or they don't. They like Oracle, they don't. That'll have to kind of feed into the strategy that kind of goes into picking these SaaS players out there. So it's something that I've been looking at for some time. I think 2018 is the year we're going to see that trigger pull because we have a tendency to love to overpay for technology companies, and now's the time to do that. And Oracle and Microsoft are one of the few out there that have the stock and the cash to go ahead and make it happen. And I think it's going to happen in 2018. What are your thoughts, Brad?
Well, it's certainly an interesting one. I didn't see that one coming, to be honest with you, and I'm sure we need to, ask Mark Benioff if he even sees that one coming as well. It'd be interesting to see how that would affect prices if, for argument's sake, Microsoft or Oracle did purchase Salesforce. What are your thoughts on how that could be affected?
I think the prices would go up. I think that then Salesforce turns into a cash cow, which companies, publicly traded companies, turn into cash cows after some time. They're just not, in an innovative area space for some time where they're discounting very much like Amazon and Google and Microsoft have been doing for the last 5 years. So I think that, Oracle, they buy them, Microsoft, they buy them, that the price of Salesforce for subscription goes up significantly. And that's something that enterprises need to consider. And that's one of the problems with moving into SaaS. Unless you have an enterprise license agreement that may go out 5 years, is going to protect you from price hikes. The reality is that very much like enterprise software that IBM would sell, Oracle would sell, those sorts of things, they could go ahead and jack those prices up, and either you move off the system or you don't. And it's very difficult to transfer off of Salesforce or any other CRM-based system, as we found in the past. And so that's going to be kind of sticky pricing, so to speak. And so they could, in essence, put the price to you, so to speak, put the screws to you, and you're either going to have to pay it or you're going to have to move on. And most people are going to pay it.
Yeah, you're right. They probably will. They'll have you by the what do we call it? The short and curlies.
That's right. Yeah, we use that in the States as well.
Fantastic. Well, prediction number two, Dave, and this is another great one. There's going to be a rash of data breaches caused by idiots, no doubt.
Yeah, the idiot factor really wasn't clear to us, I think, a couple of years ago when we were looking at cloud security. But the little thing that happened at the NSA, which is the National Security Agency here in the States, really was a misconfiguration where top secret information was exposed by accident, via S3 buckets that were misconfigured. And the funny thing to me is that S3 really defaults to have a pretty good secure system as you move forward. So if you take the defaults, you're going to be okay. So someone had to actively screw this up and go ahead and open up the system so it could be publicly accessible. And all you needed to know was the URL, and you could bring up top secret information. Of course, the NSA discovered this via some white hat hackers that were, I think, to their credit, reported this information back to some media outlets. The NSA was able to catch the breach before any kind of damage occurred. But we're going to see this over and over again. The reality is that we have very unqualified people that are in charge of some of these public cloud systems. They're going to misconfigure these things from time to time. And I think that the breaches aren't necessarily going to be caused by the lack of data security, which we have oodles of right now in the public cloud. Certainly Amazon and Google and Microsoft have capabilities there that make it fairly well secure, even more secure than some of the on-premise systems. But as a comedian here in the United States named Ron White says over and over again, you can't fix stupid. And so ultimately, these people are going to have to get retrained and have to be re-understood. We have to have more rigor around some of the security issues. This is going to happen time and time again. So what are your thoughts, Brad?
You certainly can't fix stupid, and there's also another term that I like to use, and thankfully I don't use it that frequently, but you can't reason with stupidity. you just know, when to sort of cut your losses and move on. But look, the idiots out there that seem to be in control of these S3 buckets is beyond stupid. I mean, the NSA, the data leak was unbelievable and unparalleled, but there's been some serious letdowns with regards to the people that have to lock these buckets, and there's been so many data breaches last year alone where people, like you say, have gone beyond the default and done something absolutely ludicrous to leave them wide open via the URL. It's just absolutely crazy. I think even Uber, wasn't it, was guilty of leaving their S3 bucket open or something, and actually had to pay the ransom just to keep it quiet, and to get their data back was just, stupid. But anyway, they got found out in the end. So, yeah, no, great one. And let's hope that 2018 sees less data breaches and more competent people in control of locking those bloody S3 buckets.
We can only pray.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on to prediction number 3, there's going to be more cloud categories that are coming. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the NIST categories are certainly helpful, and we certainly have hybrid clouds, and we certainly have multi-cloud, and we certainly have private cloud and public cloud, those sorts of things. But the reality is the architectural patterns are kind of moving beyond some of the common definitions, and also they're getting overloaded with misperceptions and misunderstandings. So hybrid clouds are often called legacy systems that are in essence paired with public clouds, and that's not what they are. They're private clouds and public clouds that are paired together. So there really needs to be another term for that. The ability to kind of leverage multi-cloud and different kinds of multi-cloud. So we have multi-cloud that are, two public cloud, one private cloud, two public clouds, three public clouds, three private clouds, one public cloud. And it really just kind of goes on and on. So we have to kind of get a little bit that stuff a bit more locked down going forward. I've tried to put some things out there, such as pragmatic hybrid cloud, which means that legacy systems that are paired with public clouds, really kind of as a way of explaining it. And then multi-cloud, which is we have complex multi-cloud and simplistic multi-cloud and dual cloud and those sorts of things. But we need to get a little bit careful about the semantics out there and how it really kind of defines things, because I'm seeing, private cloud misapplied, which is, people are calling virtualized systems private clouds, but they're not. the ability to look at hybrid clouds, which are, could be paired, client server systems with a public cloud system, which is not a hybrid cloud based on the NIST definition. And I'm okay with people misdefining things, but I'd rather provide specific architectural pattern labels so we understand exactly what everybody's talking about. Because I have to interrupt people, probably 20 times a day, say, well, what do you mean by hybrid cloud? And then I get something that's a completely, misunderstanding in terms of the definition of what it actually means. And I have to explain to them what's going on. Not that I correct semantics all the time, because it doesn't really matter. But it would be nice if we could able to talk about the same thing, and I wouldn't have to spend 5 to 10 minutes in essence having them define to me what semantic understanding of this particular architecture pattern means. And so we need to come up with different definitions. I'm probably not the guy to do it, but I do think the industry is going to start doing it, and I think that we're going to start seeing these definitions kind of emerge. So what do you think? This is going to happen or not?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think clear definition needs to be out there because people need to know what they're getting and why they're getting it. And I think that if people are getting the wrong information or not being able to define the terminology that's going to define their cloud strategy, then they've got issues. They've not got issues just at that point, but they've got issues 6, 8 months, 12 months down the line when they're actually just still so confused under defining exactly what they want. I've got a solution for all of this. To add to your prediction, I think we should streamline everything, crop it right back, and just have UniCloud.
UniCloud. There we go. It's like a unibrow.
Yeah, like a unibrow, just one. Just call it cloud.
Well, the thing is, if we're going to live and breathe in this world, which we are coming forward, I'd just like to see some semantics come around that everybody agrees upon. Because right now I'm spending, the first 20 minutes of panel discussions when I'm attending conferences arguing about the semantics. And I think it's absolutely ludicrous. And I would love to be able to have a common understanding of what this stuff means.
Yep, I agree. Too many people sitting around the table completely not knowing exactly what the other one's talking about and thinking they all know what they're talking about is always a recipe for disaster. Hence why you come in, I guess.
Yes, that's why I come in.
Excellent. Well, we've got prediction number 4 and our fourth and final prediction for 2018, Dave, and this is a great one. So non-US cloud providers are going to get more traction. I think there'll be some people to think that Alibaba's knocking on their door.
Yeah, it is knocking on their door. And the thing is, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said they really don't have a chance. And Google has kind of fumbled a bit, and Microsoft has accelerated in their marketplace, and Amazon continues to be the 800-pound gorilla that's very difficult to knock off. And if you look at Alibaba, they're kind of fulfilling a niche. I think a lot of SMBs in the United States and a lot of foreign national companies outside the United States, even Australia, are looking for cheaper alternatives to Amazon. And if we're just talking about object-based storage and block-based storage and basic security systems and basic compute systems, Alibaba does a fair job in providing those things. They basically look a lot like Amazon in terms of the services offering. And, they're a dark horse that kind of came from nowhere. And depending on, and we talked about this on the show before, depending on who you talk to, they surpass Google in terms of providing infrastructure as a service. And you look at the money they're spending on marketing, not necessarily have a huge presence in the United States. And I don't think the United States-based companies are going to use them anytime soon, certainly not the government. But the small to medium-sized businesses in the United States will use them if they're the cheapest, most compliant player. And so we may be dealing with a service that comes from outside the country in terms of where it's based. They may have points of presence all over the world, including in the United States. And, if I look at it, I go, that's kind of fair because, U.S. dominated, certainly we have 3 companies that dominate the public cloud space, the big software companies. And it probably makes sense that we have a large contender that exists outside the United States. And I think that the reality is that, small to medium-sized businesses and corporations in the U.S. and other parts of the world are going to vote with their dollars. And I think they got to play here. So there's something to be said about a cheap, low-cost alternatives to some of the other stuff that's going on, which provides really kind of the basic services. And I see more interest in Alibaba every day as well as some of the other external players, people who are, local to the European unions and things like that. And I see this as going to be a global, kind of a global market. And I think that's good. I think we have price competition, we have price pressure, we have feature functionality that's basically Alibaba is able to, kind of keep up with the existing players out there. And it's good to have, I think, more than, 3 or 4 players in the market.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. And you're right, they really are, overtake Google with regards to their infrastructure as a service revenue, and they really are a key contender for the rest of the world now. They've got a huge market. China's the largest cloud computing market. I think it was 31 billion or something, if I remember rightly. I remember reading something not so long ago. But there's a huge market they've already proved their worth in. So, yeah, watch out the US and the rest of the world for Alibaba. That's what I say. In fact, go back to your prediction number 1. They may well be a surprise contender to buy Salesforce, which would put a cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. That would be a huge disruptor if that occurs. They have to have the cash to make it happen, but based on what they're spending in the space, there's no reason to, think they couldn't pull it off. But it would be beyond disruptive in terms of the amount of reporter calls I would get that day in terms of that occurring, because that would be unprecedented. Having a non-U.S. company buying a U.S.-based innovative company such as Alibaba, but it's occurred before, and certainly it can occur again. But the scale is getting larger and larger. I just think that at the price of we have a hot stock market here in the United States. It would probably be a little bit more money than Alibaba is looking to afford. But look at it this way. I mean, I'm speaking at a conference in China, for the first time in May. And so they're all in on cloud, and I'm sure there's going to be, thousands of people there. And it's just going to we have to consider this market as to what it is. It's going to be a global market. Australia, Asia Pac, European Union, those sorts of market, and then of course the United States, coming together, South America, North America. It's just kind of the way we have to think. I think we have a tendency to be a little bit too nationalistic in the U.S. sometimes in terms of the technology. And I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. It's going to be international in terms of the focus. And with cloud, it can be, because we can consume services from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. We should all come together and embrace the cloud and keep everyone happy and make sure it's at the right sort of cost level for everyone and more of an even playing field. And I think you're right. If Alibaba will open up into the US and give the smaller, medium-sized businesses that opportunity to have the capability and the power that the big players have as well. So that's great. Should sea levels be ready to shift quickly, Dave, or is cloud computing just going to be, this particular year, just a number of surprises?
I think for the next 3 or 4 years, you're going to have to plan for change. And these surprises in the market really shouldn't surprise anybody. So if you don't like the way the cloud market's going, wait a couple of months, it's going to shift on you in terms of, who would have thought that Alibaba would be where it is in the space? Who would have thought that Microsoft would accelerate it in the existing space? Along with Amazon. And who would have thought that Amazon would have come out with a number of services that they have in the last couple of years, just accelerated in terms of what they're providing within the systems. And so I think that this is one of the things that we're going to have to be in a very disruptive and volatile market for some time. And I think the CIOs and the people who run IT, should anticipate that, whether they're hiring people, things like that. And my advice to them would be, don't jump on every train that comes along, but look at the value of the existing trends that are moving forward, whether it's cloud or IoT or blockchain, things like that, and see what kind of value it's able to bring into your business. And I think that's where the value currently is. But if it's IT managers and CIOs that are what we call managing by magazine, so they're chasing every shiny object in the space, they're going to make huge amounts of mistakes. They're going to be very costly to the business.
Excellent. No, great closing on that one, Dave. Really appreciate that. And thanks for being part of the C-Suites in this new year of 2018 and giving us 4 fantastic predictions for the following year. Yeah,
we'll have to review these at the end of the year, Brad, and see if I'm right. If I'm not, you'll never see me again.
Yeah, fantastic. I don't think that's true. You'll still be around. These predictions come and go. It'll be fine. Don't panic just yet. Excellent. But thanks, Dave. Sorry?
Delete the video if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. All deleted, no problem. But thanks again for being part of the C-Suite Show. Really appreciate that. And thanks everyone for watching. I really appreciate your involvement with our videos that David and I are doing over the last couple of months now as well, which is awesome. So if you haven't already, please go back and check those videos out. And remember to like, comment and subscribe on this channel so you can be up to speed with all the other latest videos that we're releasing each week. And you can find David on Twitter, which is @DavidLinthicum, and also myself, Nelson_Hilliard. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this show and stay tuned for next week's show.